I was trying not to stare, but his hazel green eyes seemed to be exactly the same color as my own. Like any first date, I knew only a few tantalizing details. The strange name came from Brittany, on the Channel coast of France. His family was in Saint-Malo, a provincial port city he'd fled as soon as possible. He spoke passable English, much better than my leftover college French, but with an Australian accent, something he picked up during his year of military service at the French embassy in Canberra. He seemed shy and serious, but broke easily into a wide grin, mostly when I said something was fascinating. We had met in late September at an academic conference in London called Digital Resources in the Humanities. Can you think of a less promising place to meet the love of your life? He was finishing up a PhD in computer science. I was starting a master's in art history. When I spotted him in a seminar on a hypertext version of Finnegan's Wake, I knew he had to be European. The Americans were too fresh-faced, the English so pale and rumpled. I suppose he could have been German, on account of his height and the hideous light blue windbreaker he was wearing, but something about the dark hair, the square jaw, and the little glasses said café crème. On the last day of the conference, I ran into him on the stairs. We Americans have that wonderful puppy dog way of going up to complete strangers with a big smile and a dumb question. I rarely fight it. In so many situations, it's a gift. I asked him what his research was about. He took it from there. Artfully worded emails flew back and forth. I even tried writing one in French, begging Gwendal in advance to correct my grammar. He waited several months to tell me that corrigez-moi doesn't imply check my spelling so much as tie me up and tickle me with a feather duster. There should really be a footnote in those high school textbooks. By December, I'd invented a reason to come to Paris, something about temporary exhibitions. And now we were here, having lunch. Gwendal had been strategic in his choice of restaurant. The Bouillon Chartier is a brusque canteen in the 9th arrondissement. To an American, this was movie-set Paris. Tucked into a narrow arcade between a Chinese restaurant and a pâtisserie, Chartier has been open since 1896 and served the same purpose then as now, filling up the masses before a stroll down the C&B scene Grand Boulevard. The room was vast, noisy, and completely full. Gwendal's glasses fogged up as he pushed ahead of me through the heavy revolving door. The walls were the color of new butter, and the light from the globes of 10 enormous chandeliers was much brighter than the pale gray Paris afternoon we left outside. There must have been 200 people, all with knives and forks poised somewhere between their mouths and their neighbor's nose, emphasizing a point, I imagine. Groups of tables were separated by dark wooden partitions, like the waiting room of a train station, and above the heads of the diners were gleaming brass hat rails heaped with folded coats, shopping bags, and dangling scarves. The waiters certainly looked like they had a train to catch. Dressed in white shirts and black vests, they wove in and out of traffic, often holding a dozen escargots, a bœuf bourguignon, and a baba au rhum in the crook of a single thumb. There were tiny numbered cubbies along the walls where regular clients once stored their linen napkins. The tables were small enough that if you put your elbows on the edge, you'd have a hard time not holding hands with the person across the way. Though I'd never been in this room before, something about it felt wonderfully familiar. Europe had that effect on me ever since I stepped off the plane for the first time in college. I felt more like myself here, as though my love of art and history was natural, and my inability to name the latest rock band didn't matter.